Hello everybody, this is Starborn Feline here. We are doing something different today. So instead of doing a Let's Play episode, I've always mentioned like I'm always working on an art project or this or that. So I want to just start showing off a little bit of what I've started doing. This first video is going to be a bit interesting because it's something I haven't done in a while. Specifically, I have gone and made a manga page for a little bit of a fan project I'm working on. It's just a little bit of a crossover, a what if scenario, if you will, of what if Fate Stay Night characters had Digimon partners and what would change in the story. So to clarify, I have not done a manga page like this in a while. I think the last time I attempted this was about 2 years ago, and that was just as an experiment to see how a manga page was put together. So this is going to be an interesting go around. I will note that, like I said, it's been a while, so my skills are a bit rusty, and I am a bit unfamiliar with the Fate Stay Night art style. It changed a little bit in FGO, become more anime, but during the earlier days, back when the series first was taking off, it had a bit of a unique flair to it. I wouldn't call it completely different from what you see today, but there was a bit still nuances to the way the character faces were done that you didn't quite see in anime at the time, but I figured I would give it a try and replicate it as much as I could. Let's see here. So I'm not going to blabber too much, we're just going to hop into it and see how it goes. So what I do when I'm recording these art videos is I break them up into pieces, mainly because there is a chance that OBS does crash, which I have had happen on me in the past. This is actually what happened around the start of this first video. If you notice, I already had some of the sketch made, and OBS crashed on me a couple minutes into the recording. I chose not to start over from scratch since I already had a bit of a decent base on to go on. It wasn't much, but it was better than, you know, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as the saying goes. But what ended up happening was, so after I created the base, this first scene, just to give you the breakdown, the idea behind this is that Shiro and Taiga are in Shiro's kitchen. Shiro has received a strange package from someone named Z. Fans probably already know who sent the package. It's one of the easiest hooks for a Fate story, if there ever was anything else easier. I have yet to see it. But anyway, they received the package from Z. Shiro opens it, and at first they think it's just a toy. But fans of Digimon will instantly recognize what this is. And I actually heavily based design on the, I believe it was the D2 from Season 2 of Digimon. I made some slight changes here and there compared to the D2 from the original series. Plus, if you actually read the story linked down below, shameless plug included, there is going to be some differences from the way I described it in the actual story itself. Mainly, I just wanted to create a little bit of a cleaner image of what this was. And so what I plan to do moving forward is, if I write something and it doesn't quite match up, but I get a better visual on it in the manga page, I'll probably go with what's in the manga page. And I may go back and edit the story later down the line. I don't know how often this will happen or how much of it will actually change based on what I actually draw. But that is just something to keep in mind going forward, as I do want to try and keep things as consistent as possible, but sometimes things will change from concept into actual like realization based on what I'm working on. So these first few steps were fairly simple. I just created a basic idea of what I wanted to do. I couldn't really find a good picture for the background in Shiro's house, the kitchen / cooking area. There were some images in the anime from, if you remember, the Shiro's, what's today's menu with the Emiya family, where it's called? That little slice of life anime they did a while back. It had a lot of good shots, but not quite what I was looking for. So I just based it off of what I could from that anime. There are some subtle differences here and there in the background. The first shot is like a shot looking from, like, you're underneath the characters and then looking upwards towards them and the light. And then the second shot is a straight downward shot where you're looking at the Digivice fully revealed. I created a rough, what I like to do with my sketches is I'll create a rough base with the first layer just to put together an idea of what I wanted to do. And then from there I'll start iterating on that sketch, trying to get a little bit more detail each time, adjusting some sizes, some proportions here and there to try and get something a bit more clean. Once I'm satisfied with that, then we move on to the inking phase, where excuse me, I'm doing this unscripted, so yes. We move on to the inking phase, where after that we will move and start creating the outlines for the characters, the items, basically everything major in the scene. Again, in this case, I don't really have a good manga pen for outlining, so I will need to try to look into that a little bit, find what other people use, and see what works best for me. But for this first go around, I think it's decent enough for what I'm trying to do. I am on a little bit of a time constraint here because I am trying to work on this and several other videos at the same time, so I do rush a little bit and the quality does suffer a little bit from it. But I do hope moving forward, as I learn to do more pages, I can get better and create something a bit cleaner each time. Now it will just take a little while, just because again I am new to this still. But I do like, hey, you only learn by trying something new. So we're gonna go and see where it goes from here. So once we've gotten our characters outlined and everything else blocked out, we then move on to creating the base colors for the page. In this case, I did try to go with more manga style, so I did try to keep things black and white, or rather a grayscale. I'm sorry. It didn't look half bad, honestly. I was just going through the process. Mind you, there's still a lot I want to change and want to improve on here, but for what I was working on, it looked decent, in all opinion. Though I will admit, towards the end, I did realize I forgot one thing, which was to fix the eyes of the characters. Because if you look at them right now in the video, you will notice they are kind of a little bit lifeless. And I did edit that part in post, I fixed that part in the page after the video, which I do plan to show towards the end. But in the meantime, I was going back and forth a little bit, trying to get things figured out. And I did try to add a little bit like of a texture here and there where I could to some of the shading of the characters. This was a bit of an odd angle for me, since I don't normally work on these types of like extreme angles, as I like to call them. But for what they were the first time around, it was a decent thing. I do wish I could have gotten like a bit more highlights around certain characters or certain parts of the things, for example around Shiro and Taiga. Mainly taking time to create more of a contrast between the characters, so their light and dark areas. I've always struggled with shading a little bit, so this was a bit of a challenge for me, but I figured this would be a good way to experiment and see what worked. I got the basis for it, but like in the end it wasn't quite up to my standards, but I didn't want to just waste time on something, because after points that I do have to make this into a video, I did realize I need to just proceed onwards and go from there. By comparison, the Digivice was honestly really simple. Again, I just created a bit of a contrast here and there. I actually did lose a little bit of the video when I was recording, as I was creating the base color for it. But thankfully, since it was just like me just adding a little bit of a gray to the paper, I figured it wasn't a big deal. So I just continued working from there. I had a little bit of just a streak for the screen, which was a nice little touch. Again, mainly focusing on just making things look nice and neat as much as I could. Again, I do need to work a bit on shading to get a bit more contrast, but for what I've created in this case, it was a decent first go around, and I do hope to improve more as I continue onwards and see what we can do to up the scale of this project a little bit, to get it more like looking like something that came from like an actual like collab rather than just like a fan project. But hey, that'll take time, that'll take practice, so I'm just gonna, like I said, learn as I go and see what works best for me. But until then, here's me reading out that first chapter to you. I wanted to try and get as much engagement with this and see if people enjoy it, because I do want to build a little bit of a back and forth to get opinions on this, since this is mainly just like an idea I started working on, but I did want to put it into a bit more perspective and get more feedback, because I think Digimon and this kind of crossover has a lot of potential, just because based on the characters and the improved Digimon recently we've gotten, or rather the newer Digimon we've gotten, we can do a lot of fun stuff with this and just see where it goes. It was a warm and sunny summer day in the city of Fuji, Japan. The cries of cicadas filled the air, breaking through the usual goings about of the people in the city below. Up in the old residential district, nestled among the modern homes, was an older period manor. While not as grand or as large as older houses, it was still well maintained and cared for. While easily able to house several families with room to spare, it was currently the residence of a single individual named Shiro Emiya, a young boy with tan skin and dark red hair that he could never quite tame properly. Dressed in a white shirt with blue sleeves and a simple but practical pair of blue jeans. Currently, he was preparing dinner late into the evening, knowing that Sakura and his teacher / big sis Taiga would both be coming over. Shiro had been living by himself for a while, ever since the passing of the man he considered his hero and father. Things had been difficult at first, but thanks to the dream that his father had passed on to Shiro, he had found the strength to move forward, wanting to be a hero of justice. It sounded silly when you said it out loud, but the truth was, Shiro wasn't sure what he would do with his goal, as nebulous as it was. Currently, Shiro took that to mean to helping people wherever or whenever he could. Did some people take advantage of that? Yes, but Shiro didn't mind. It allowed him to use his niche skills set in a way that he figured his father might approve of. Before he could think about his father would have approved of his use of his limited magecraft knowledge, Shiro heard the front door open and a familiar, energetic voice filled the house. Shiro, your big sis is here, and I've got a surprise for you. The ever upbeat school teacher called out as she happily pranced through the hallway into the main living/dining room. Shiro couldn't help but smile as he saw Taiga entering, wearing her usual striped orange shirt. For a woman who disliked being referred to as a tiger, she tended to dress like one often. Hey Fujine, you're early. Dinner won't be ready for a few hours, Shiro stated as he was finished putting away the last of the ingredients into the fridge. I know, but I was getting mail this morning and I saw I had gotten a package. I hadn't ordered anything recently and I saw it was addressed to you. I figured I might have been a mistake, or that maybe someone sent it to my address thinking you lived with me, so I brought it over, Taiga said as she put the package on the table into the living room. Shiro quirked an eyebrow. He knew for sure he hadn't ordered anything either. The package was sitting on the table looked rather old-fashioned. It was covered in brown wrapping paper and had seen better days, and held together by twine, something Shiro hadn't seen outside of art class or the crafts club. Attached to the box, holding everything together, was a little note with a small tag attached to the end, with Shiro's name written in English of all languages. The script appeared to have been done by hand, by someone with curly handwriting. Well, aren't you going to open it? Taiga asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. Shiro looked it over for a moment, remembering a brief lesson that his father had installed within him about being cautious. But with Taiga here, it wouldn't be possible to run a trace over the parcel and find out who had sent it or what was inside. Well, not like anyone was a mage knew he existed, right? Taking a moment to undo the knot, Shiro then began to unwind the twine before he began to remove several layers of paper from the package. Taiga watched eagerly to see what her little brother had received, and Shiro simply wanted to get an idea of who had sent the parcel. As Shiro cleared away the last of the paper, he found a note resting on top of what looked vaguely like an old-fashioned remote control. It had an inch-wide screen at the top, 4 directional arrow buttons, and what looked to be a power or pause button possibly, along the sides. Taiga looked at it for a moment before saying, Hey, doesn't it look like one of those old keychain toys? The ones you use to raise pets. I never knew you were into that sort of thing, Shiro. Guess there's still a little bit of a kid in you after all, Taiga teased her younger brother. Ever since Shiro's father, Kitsugo, had passed, Taiga had taken it upon herself to raise Shiro as her own family. She wouldn't say in front of Shiro, but she was worried about him, more so after his adopted father passed away. The fact that Shiro had decided to take on Kitsugo's old dream of becoming a hero of justice hadn't quite sat right for her. Taiga understood that both men meant well wanting to help people, but a dream like that seemed so out of reach and undefined that it felt like you were only setting yourself up for disappointment or failure. You can't save everyone, and that trying to do so would only get someone hurt. To see your brother playing with a toy, something he hadn't done since... I never ordered anything, Fujine. According to the letter, it's a condolence gift. Apparently one of Dad's old friends had been aware he had passed until recently. Apparently it had been sent by someone named Z, and they had said, Hope this little guy will keep you company, whatever that means. Shiro said, wrinkling his nose at the odd phrasing. Huh, weird, but hey, at least now you've got something to distract you other than the junk you keep in the shed, Taiga said, feeling her previous happiness deflate slightly. Shiro looked at the device and turned it over carefully, examining it. There weren't any obvious switches or buttons to turn it on, so the next logical step was to try clicking some of the buttons. After messing around and nothing happened, Taiga finally said, Aw, don't tell me it's already broken. Hold on, I just need to... Shiro began as he clicked the arrow buttons all at once. There was just beeping as the screen flickered to light. Both siblings looked on as a little loading icon appeared, spinning in a circle before the screen switched and showed what looked like a white egg with 3 red stripes circling the middle. The egg would occasionally twitch as a timer at the bottom of the right corner appeared and began to count down from 1600. Oh, you've got it working. That's my little bro for you. Oh, he's a real whiz with tech, Taiga teased as she reached over the table, ruffled Shiro's hair playfully. Shiro brushed her hand away, looking slightly annoyed at Taiga for messing his already messy hair. Come on, Fujine, it's not that big a deal. Besides, I'm still not sure what to do with the thing anyway. I'm always busy, and from what you said, the thing is supposed to be like a pet, right? I can't drop what I'm doing to mess with the thing, and I don't just want to put it in the bottom of some drawer and forget about it, Shiro said as he watched the device in his hand, the timer clicking down. Oh, don't be like that. Just try it for a bit and see where it goes. You never know, you might like it. And if you don't, I'm pretty sure you can do something with it. Like I said, you're a whiz with tech, Shiro, Taiga said, pushing slightly. Taiga really wanted Shiro to get out of his comfort zone and to do something just for himself. The reason Shiro was always busy was because he was always helping people, so distraction might be good for him. And if it didn't work, he could always probably take the toy apart for parts or use it for some weird experiment he was already working on the shed. Not that Taiga really ever knew what went on in there, but she knew and trusted her little bro not to do anything dangerous or illegal given his goals in life. Shiro let out a sigh, knowing it would be easier to give in to his opposite's request than argue. Fujine was stubborn like that. Alright, fine. I'll try it for a week and then see what happens after that. Happy? Taiga needed to respond as her elated smile on her face said everything. Fujine was beaming so brightly, Shiro wondered if maybe his sister hadn't planned the whole thing. The rest of the evening went without much of excitement. Shiro busied himself with prepping dinner while Taiga watched TV. Occasionally, Taiga would get up and help, but it mainly consisted of washing vegetables and preheating the oven. Shiro loved his sister, but he did not trust her enough as a chef for her to not make them sick. Once the meal was done and finished, Taiga helped to clean up before she headed out for the night. Don't stay up too late, Shiro. You have classes tomorrow, Taiga said, her motorbike helmet under her arm. I think I should be telling you that since you're always late, Shiro shot back, his head popping around the corner with a rare smug grin on his face. Taiga acted hurt as she put her hand to her chest. Well, I never. When did my little brother become so sarcastic? I learned from the best, came back the reply. Taiga let out a huff and smiled. Okay, but seriously, don't stay up too late, Shiro, and I'll see you in class tomorrow morning. Have a good night. Night, Fujine. I won't, Shiro called back, watched his sister close the door. Shiro smiled softly as he went back to his usual night routine. He made sure everything was clean and all the doors and windows were locked as they needed to be. Looking at the clock, Shiro still had some time before he had to get to bed, so he headed out to the shed in the backyard. Shiro only had really learned 2 spells from his father figure, Tracing, which allowed one to analyze an object through touch, but Shiro had started to reach the point he could actually do so by just looking at an object. The second spell he had learned was Reinforcement, which allowed him to strengthen an object to whatever limit it naturally had. Shiro had been practicing both spells with a religious fervor whenever he could, trying to hone his skill set to which he could help people. Usually it amounted to him just using it to fix someone's AC or lift a little bit extra, but it wasn't much at the end of the day. It had, however, earned him the nickname of Brownie for always being able to fix things at school, never accepting payments for his work, but not much else. Honestly, Shiro hadn't been super sure how these spells might help him become a hero of justice in the long run. But even then, he had always been happy to help make everyone else's lives easier in the long run. Back in the prison, Shiro looked over everything he had in the shed. Honestly, the building itself was fairly spacious. 2 stories tall, with multiple items, mainly various old mechanical parts, and the like that Kitsuru and then later Shiro had collected over the years. Looking over a few items, Shiro picked up a pipe from a case of them, sat down at the center of the room, closing his eyes. He then began the process of creating his circuits. Shiro felt his body heat up as he focused, pain slowly burning its way through his body. Shiro recalled how he had been taught to imagine a hot iron being pushed through, as he reforged his nerves into magical circuits to channel prana through his body. It was painful, but to be a mage meant to be willing to walk with death. As the heat spread up through his arms, Shiro began to pour it into the pipe in his hand as he began to analyze it. It had been part of an order of 200 from the US. The manufacturer had cheapened out slightly, and instead of using the 100% stainless steel originally ordered, they used 80% stainless steel and 20% tin. The structure was significantly more flexible as a result, but not as sturdy. It made excellent for jobs where flexibility was required, but when pressure was continuously applied, they were more likely to break. Having now grasped the basic structure, Shiro then began the next part. Slowly, Shiro began to pour his ode into the pipe as he felt the structure buzz slightly in his hand. Green lines began to form along the length of the pipe, almost like circuits. It took a considerable amount of focus for Shiro. It took a considerable amount of focus on Shiro's part as he began to straighten the pipe's physical structure. The first part was fairly easy, if painful, as all Shiro had to do was try and strengthen the pipe's already existing structure. In a way, it was like trying to fill a particularly full glass. The only catch was, if you overfilled it, the cup would shatter. Right now, the cup was about 70% filled, and Shiro needed to fill it to the max amount it would allow. Shiro let out a breath as he felt his body continuously heat up. Uncomfortable didn't even begin to describe how Shiro felt. The feeling was growing more and more painful, like a hot rod slowly being heated alongside his spine. 73%. Sweat trickled down Shiro's brow as he tightened his closed eyes. 79%. Shiro involuntarily gripped the bar harder as his knuckles began to turn white. 82%. Shiro could feel the burning sensation spreading throughout his body. 87. Beep, 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 beep. Shiro felt his concentration slip at the sudden sound that came from his pocket. The device he had received let out several beeps. The pipe in his hand suddenly bursting in a display of blue sparks. Thankfully, shards simply clattered to the ground harmlessly rather than flying in every direction. Shiro looked around, panicked, thinking someone or something had tripped the bounded field his dad had set up around the house. It took several moments, but eventually, the red-haired boy realized the sound was coming from his pocket. More specifically, the pocket had stuffed a toy into. Shiro had honestly forgotten about it, and hadn't thought to take it from his pocket when he had come to the shed. Pulling it out, Shiro looked at it and saw several screens switching back and forth with regular intervals. Temperature, irregular. Circuits, irregular. Shiro stared confused at the screen. Temp? Does it mean temperature? The device felt cool to Shiro's touch. And what did it mean, circuits? Wait, was it somehow gauging his circuits? The thought popped into Shiro's mind for a moment, but certainly not. Surely something that looked like a child's toy couldn't be observing something like Mage's magical circuits, right? She wanted to shake the thought from his head, but what if... He had to know. Something in him was compelling Shiro to check. Maybe it was a special sense of curiosity. Maybe it was a sense of curiosity that Shiro usually suppressed. Maybe it was a little instinct as a mage that Shiro had inherited from his father peeking through, but regardless, Shiro knew that he needed to do. Once more, Shiro focused his circuits, this time onto the device in his hand. It took a moment as Shiro felt a strange resistance at first, as his ode attempted to enter the device. But after a moment, Shiro began to make out the loading, data found, unloading source code, sword, error, reboot unintended, reboot initiated, reboot successful. Shiro had fallen to his knees as the feeling faded. He was panting as he could hear his heart thumping in his chest. There had been so much information, Shiro couldn't even make heads or tails. The device was made from something called Reg Digizoid, something about a creature called Digimon, and so much more. It didn't make sense. It didn't sound like anything his father had taught him. Shiro needed to look deeper into this. But first, he needed to sleep. It was here that Shiro slumped completely onto the floor, his eyes growing heavy as he held the device in his hand, his eyelids getting heavier as he finally closed them. The timer on the device came into view, counting down from 6 hours, 27 minutes, and 32 seconds. Okay, and so that's where our current chapter ends. I feel looking back at this now, it's kind of messy. I really wish I'd gone and edited this a bit more, and I probably will before I upload the video. But for the time being, that is it for now. I do hope you guys enjoyed this little sneak preview, I guess, of the first chapter. But what do you guys think? Again, I realize this, looking at it back now, it is messy. It does need to be cleaned up a bit. But I will work on that on my own time and get that thing up before I post everything online. Until then, everyone, thank you so much for being here, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified new videos when they come out, share the video with people you think might enjoy the content. But until then, I do hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Until then, this has been Starborn Feline signing off for now, saying, be kind, try to create something new tomorrow, and I'll see you all next video. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and goodbye!